And for the main event of Sunday night's slate of two conference championship games, we get the heavy hitting Bills versus the Chiefs. And this is going to be great. This is going to be such a storied matchup. We've already seen Allen and Mahomes in these big games several times. And with that said, we're going to start off, of course, with the quarterbacks as we always do. We have tier one, Josh Allen, the number 3 quarterback, according to my quarterback metric, versus a surprising to some, more than likely, not all, though, tier 2, Patrick Mahomes, who is number 6 of all quarterbacks, according to my quarterback metric again. And the way I arrived to these stats is by combining 4 advanced metrics into one stat. So it's not just, an eyeball test, me saying, oh, I don't like Patrick Mahomes. Let's make him a tier 2 quarterback. No, it's just compiling stats together. So we're going to give a point to the Bills, but to be fair, we are going to factor in that you can't be near Patrick Mahomes without getting flagged. And thereby, we're going to give the Chiefs 99 points, but they're going to have to earn all the other points. I'm just kidding, of course. They're only going to get 4. That would be too much to give them 99. That is also a joke. They're not getting any points at all for that. So the Bills take a 1-point lead, and we're going to start with them for the rest of the advantages. So next we have Khalil Shakir, who I did not realize until doing the start of the analysis for 2 weeks ago for the Bills that Khalil Shakir is 23rd in yards per route run for wide receivers and tight ends combined. That's an awesome ranking. He's going against Chamari Connor, who is 64th in PFF coverage grade. He plays 31% of his snaps in man coverage, which is 5 percentage points more than the average corner does. And he's as a coverage guy in man coverage. He has a 54 grade. I would say that 70 is exceptional, 60 is average, and then 50 or not too hot. So he is right between not too good and average. So he's all right. He can definitely be better than that score because I believe he had a good year last year. And with that said, we're going to give the second point to the Bills. So it's 2-0. We've only gone over 2 matchups. So yeah, it wouldn't be logical to have several points going around. And for the next matchup, we have the Bills the Bills rushing attack, where they are 3rd in rushing expected points added, versus Kansas City, who is 11th in run defense expected points added. So with that said, the Bills do have a pretty good advantage there. They are such a varied attack, I would say, because obviously you got Josh Allen rushing. You got the read option, you got the quarterback powers, you got the quarterback counters, you got all of that. You have James Cook, who I always want to call Dalvin, and you get his speed. Allen, great power, doesn't have the greatest speed. He's pretty fast for a quarterback, but I wouldn't say he's elite in speed. And with Cook, you get pretty high end speed. The offensive line, a lot of power to it, a lot of beef as well. Just can throw weight into you. Osiris Torrance, he's I want to say he's 350, maybe 340. He's a big guard. Spencer Brown, I want to say he's 6'8", maybe 6'7". He is somebody that can really get after you as well. I would say we're gonna get into him later, but he can he can certainly pass block, but he also can be really nasty in the run game, which is exactly what you want to see in an offensive lineman. So then they get the sixth offensive lineman after you. That can be, presenting a new problem because it's tough to match up with. And overall, the Bills, they got a great run game. And that's evident through the stats, them being third. So speaking of third, they're getting their third point there. And then we move to the defensive side, where Greg Russo is 12th in pressures amongst all players versus Jawan Taylor, who is 40th in pass blocking grade per PFF. So there's again a bit of a discrepancy there. That means that the Bills are getting another point, taking it to 4-0. The Chiefs haven't had any point or opportunities to get points yet, though, aside from at quarterback. So it's not like they're just getting whooped. It's, the Bills are on the attacking sides of these point opportunities, and they're just making good on it. So the Chiefs are going to have their turn in the sun coming around as well. Jawan Taylor, he is pretty good when he can be false starting every play, but he's not an elite pass protector. I would say he's about average, and that's about where he ranks. I think he's 40th, and I think there's about 82, so right around average for offensive tackles that are ranked in PFF grade. So now we're going to shift to the Chiefs side where they can get some points. But before we do that, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe, as both make massive differences. And with that said, Kansas City does not have a wide receiver in the top 50 of yards per route run. Wide receiver or tight end, I should say. Kelsey's not. Hopkins isn't. Hollywood Brown, I don't know if he played enough to be considered. I don't think he did, because he only played a couple games. So they don't have a top 50 receiver in yards per route run, so they don't get any opportunities for points there. So we're going to jump straight into the rushing game, where Kansas City is 13th in rushing expected points added, and Buffalo is 5th in run defense expected points added. So there's not an advantage there for Kansas City. And I'm not going to give a point to Buffalo because, again, stopping the other team from getting a point is the same as getting a point. But there's not really an edge to the rushing game for the Chiefs. Maybe they would be a bit higher if Pacheco played the whole year. But even still, they wouldn't be that much better than the Bills. Maybe they get up to around 5, but they're not getting, they're not going to go from 13 to number 1 just because of Pacheco, even though Pacheco's a good player. So all of that is to say, no points for Kansas City there. And we move to the defensive side of the ball, where Chris Jones is 6th in pressures amongst all players. One of the best pass rushers of this generation, full stop. He is an incredible defensive tackle pass rusher. He can rush from the edge. He's a very rare blend in that sense. The only other player I can think of that's really been I guess there's two. There's Aaron Donald, who has been a defensive tackle / edge in skill set. And there's also Michael Bennett, who would play the edge on early downs and play defensive tackle on some pass rushing downs. Jones is actually the opposite. He is a defensive tackle early and then an edge rusher late, which I think is very neat. So all of that is to say, Jones, a great pass rusher, one of the best in the league now, one of the best in recent memory. He is 6th in pressures. He's going against Osiris Torrance, who is 48th in pass blocking, and he's going against Connor McGovern, who is 6th in pass blocking for centers. So, with that said, I'm not going to give a point to the Chiefs here. I think that, and this is the best matchup for Jones, because as Jones moves around so much, I figured I would mimic that and pair him against the worst matchups for the Bills. And that's what with Torrance, he's not a great pass protector. He's all right, not great. And McGovern, he's going to be helping with the double team. So there's, because the other opportunity would be for Edwards. I think it's David Edwards, the left guard for the Bills. Edwards is better than Torrance, and Dawkins, you're not going to want Jones on Dawkins. Dawkins is a very good player. So the only exception to this being the best would be that Spencer Brown is probably a little bit more lacking if you can get one-on-ones. But Brown is, I think, a better player than Torrance. And if you can do some blitzes to get one-on-ones across the board, you're going to get Torrance against Jones. That's going to be advantageous. So I guess in saying this, actually, I'm going to give a point to the Chiefs because I do think that Spagnuolo, he knows how to use his players well enough. At this point, they have a great chemistry. He's been there for years. He knows what to do with them. He's a great mind in general as well. I think, is going to get some blitzes in to get Torrance against Jones. So I think that will be advantageous. But I think in general, like maybe 50% of the time, there's going to be a double team on Jones, and McGovern's going to help to minimize the effectiveness of Jones. So that won't be a full-fledged advantage, but I'm going to give the Chiefs a point there with Jones. So that takes the Chiefs to 1 point, and the Bills have 4. And next we have George Karlaftis, who is 15th in pressures, versus Spencer Brown, who is 27th in pass blocking grade per PFF. So that means that Karlaftis is 12 spots better at his respective stat than Brown is at his. And thereby, I'm going to give the point to the Chiefs, taking them to 2 points now. So the Chiefs are coming around a little bit here. And they have another point coming their way as well. To give you a little bit of a spoiler, it's not really much of a spoiler. It's going to be talked about in like 10 seconds. But Karlaftis, he is going to be, I think he's going to have some issues with Brown because Brown is just so big and has the ability to contain Karlaftis's power. But in saying that, I think that Karlaftis is good enough to still have some success there. So that's going to be 2 points for the Chiefs. And their third point is coming from having home field advantage. So that means that the Chiefs have 3 points and the Bills have 4. And I'm going to deliberate on that, a little bit because it is not as black and white as just do you have more points, then you're going to win. All points aren't created equally. But with that said, the Chiefs are a little bit behind the 8 ball because they don't have the advantage at quarterback for once. The Bills actually do. And so with that said, home field advantage I don't think is a response enough to having the disadvantage at quarterback. And I don't love the other matchups. Like, yes, it's good to have the pass rushing advantage, but I like a sort of balanced distribution of talent, and the Bills have that in spades as the wide receiver advantage for Shakir, gives Allen an option. Russo as a pass rusher can get after Mahomes a bit, and then they can have some success on the ground. I would rather have that than having just strictly a good pass rush and home field advantage. So, with that said, I am going with the Bills here. I think it's going to be a tight game. Wouldn't surprise me if Kansas City wins, but I do think the Bills just have the greater talent, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. Those are my thoughts on the game. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section, and also be sure to like and subscribe for more football content.